still the AM Weekend Show. My name is Divine Onoha. I'm still here with Ogochukwu Osai. And right now, we're going to be talking about something very interesting. I introduced it before the break. We'll be looking at duties, rights, and dignity, redefining domestic services in the Southeast. And as we know, domestic service is something that has become so widely accepted in the southeastern part of Nigeria and in Nigeria at large. There's the informal, there's the formal. We have agencies for it, and it has become something that a lot of people have accepted. Families have come to accept domestic services, but we're seeing different things go on. Some negative, some positive. We look at the way that these domestic workers are being treated, and we've heard all manner of stories. So we're just going to be unpacking the structure, unpacking the abuse and everything, and unpacking the rights, most importantly. And to join us for that conversation is none other than the very beautiful Barrister Nneamaka Ilodigwe. Welcome to the show, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good morning, our viewers and listeners.
You look so good, ma'am.
Thank you. I get to.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we'll start by let me start by asking, why do you think that domestic service has become, such a big deal here in the Southeast? Because I remember a few years ago, anytime people talk about having house helps, having helps at home, whatever kind of help at all, it is frowned upon. Like, it's looked upon like you're lazy, or you don't really want to work, or you don't care much about your family, you're bringing in a stranger. But we're seeing that there's been a shift. A lot of people have come to accept it. We're seeing agencies for it and all that. Why do you think it has become that way?
So much in the Southeast. Well, we look at poverty has increased. And many people are rushing into the society to get money. People are now looking for what to eat. In the past, most mothers stayed home, but now you don't leave the responsibilities alone for the fathers. Most mothers are hawking. So many of them are on the streets, POS, small business, this and that. However, before we even go deep into this discussion, what is domestic servitude? If you look at domestic servitude, it's normally looked at in the negative. It's servitude. It's undignifying,
Okay.
But when you say domestic service, it comes in different forms. This may be a young girl, a young woman that is. They often work in the homes to assist in cooking, cleaning, and all that. But when you say servitude, it becomes really on the negative side, that the person might be going through a lot of abuses, So that's the disparities when you talk about service and servitude. And often these people that go for servitude are under compulsion. Some of them are compelled. Some of them are forced.
Okay.
Yes,
okay. So we're talking about two different categories.
Yes, some of them are forced. Some of them are, they do the work and they are not paid. They labor for nothing. You get that?
Yeah.
But some that are, but the real thing is that it is standard that every domestic servant, not househelp now, we are talking about, because most times people use the words interchangeably, but they are not the same.
Okay, so what's the difference between the two?
So when you look at, when you say domestic service, it's a kind of a professional thing.
No.
It's under the Labor Act. They have the responsibilities and their rights. But when you look at the house help, you talk of a young girl gets married and has a younger sister, or a relation goes with her, and there's this promise that you will train the young girl. She becomes a part of your family, grows with your children, and runs one or two errands in the home. Is treated as a family member. And there's nothing like consideration, furnished, that is money. You're not talking about paying her money, or not. You are just taking care of her. But when you talk about this domestic service, there is consideration that has to be furnished. You find in this part of the country, most people don't even consider that. They just get them, they are working for them, they just tell you they are eating in their homes. that eating is enough. If I can give her a roof over her head and give her food, is enough for her. After all, did she have that where she was coming from? But just like you mentioned, I'm glad that some agencies are now coming up to monitor some of these things. So, and it's not all of them that are gotten through agents.
Yes.
So that's it. These ones that are not gotten through agents go through servitude.
Okay.
Because yes, most of them are compelled, even when they want to leave. They tell their madam, I'm tired, I don't want to stay anymore, I want to go. Because she doesn't have the money to move, transport herself back, or because she doesn't have, the wherewithal, the courage to even go out to speak, she's there, forced to continue in that labor. But if it's somebody who is paid and is managed by an agency, and the agency monitors what is going on between her and her mother, she can easily, it becomes services and not servitude.
So just to be clear now,
Yes.
domestic service is for those who go professionally, who probably go through agencies who monitor all of this.
Yes.
Then when we talk about servitude, we're referring to those who are compelled to do
So,
it.
forced into.
Okay. Then there's this last category you mentioned, which
house
is
helps.
yes, house help. Does it fall into any of the category, or it's
Well,
just for
like I said, some of the services, the domestic services, workers, you can call this house help because they do mostly almost the same thing. But people use the language interchangeably, but it's not the same. Okay, because the difference is those that offer services that are managed by agencies, they are paid. There is a consideration furnished. But for this young girl who is just picked from the village and promises are made over her head, I will train her in school from primary this to that to university, even though those things may not be done. They are called house helps, and often they are relations. They are related, but those that offer services could come from anywhere, outside Yoruba, blah, 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 and so forth.
house helps under servitude.
Some of them, sometimes they experience that, as a result of, maybe it depends on the person that's staying with. Sometimes they experience that.
Okay. So now I'd like to ask, do you think that people truly understand the rights of these people? Let's talk about domestic service now. Do you think people understand their rights?
Well, some of them do. We said earlier, the agencies that monitor them, some of them do. Those that are under domestic services, they do. Sometimes they do, and sometimes it's not, even though it's not spelled out. Sometimes the young girl who is going into it doesn't even know. But her madam, who is managing the agency, may know her rights and her duties and what is should be agreeable to the girl. Sometimes you find them, they say the money is paid to the agencies, okay, not directly to the girl. Now, sometimes some of these girls don't even understand, because most of them, Nigeria, anything can happen. We are still a third world country. If it's in a country we are developed countries, before you get these people to come and work, they get some trainings and they know their rights. But you see some of these people, because they are looking for cheap people to employ, they get some of these people that they put under their agencies from the rural areas, those who do not understand their rights and their left. And they still, even they that are managing the agencies, abuse those rights, even when they know them. Do you understand? Yes.
That's quite terrible.
That's quite terrible, actually. But okay, now, so looking at the house help thing, I mean, we've heard cases, we've seen situations where at some point it seems like it became a trend. Every now and then we are hearing stories of someone abusing the child, using iron on them and all those things. And it's mostly in the Southeast region. Now, is it a cultural pattern or just a media attention? Why is it always related to the Southeast that every kind of abuse when it comes to having a domestic help is always related to Southeast most of the times?
I think that one, I wouldn't say it's a cultural thing, because culture does not permit anybody to be mean to another person. I think that media is giving it a lot of attention, and it's good on one side. And then it also has I would also say that things are changing so much. A kind of inhuman treatment to others are becoming so high, you know. In the past, we had family members come and live with us. People said, we don't even get all these agencies managing, and they're well treated. So when I was growing up, you wouldn't even know the difference between the server, the house help, and the child of the biological child of the family. But now things has changed, and I think that I don't know whether to say it's the high rate of poverty, and I don't know how to put it, the wickedness of the heart of certain people, because there are some things that you will hear from a home that somebody has done to a child using iron on the. For example, I have an NGO. I'm a founder of an NGO, Women and Child. Basically, so when you hear some of these cases, you are called up. When a woman uses iron or uses nail on the head of a girl, or uses on one of the cases that came to me 2 years ago was a young girl, about 13 years old, just because the little child she was carrying dropped from her hand as they were playing together. The madam used nail to pinch her breast, some girls that are just growing breast, put it on the nipples and then pinch it, and then also use what is this bottle? She said a Fanta bottle, to pierce it through her vagina. She was inserting it and bringing it out and inserting it, and the girl had to go through a lot of trauma. Apart from the trauma, she developed some problems with her medicine because she kept on dropping blood. It was by the intervention, and it's not just in the Southeast. This didn't happen in the Southeast. It happened in the North.
Wow.
The girl was taken from here to the North to stay with her mother's sister, and it's the mother's sister, yes, and it's the mother's sister that did this to her.
Her auntie.
Her auntie. So she ran away from the mother's sister and ran to somebody when she could not bear the pain. And from there, the person brought her back down to the. She's a full-grown woman now, but she's still having the effect of what happened to her when she was 13 years old. So it's not just in this house, but I think that, I don't know, the media attention to it is good, but I think that, I don't know what to call it really, that is happening now. Because mothers are no longer behaving like mothers. They feel their children are more important than another person's child. And again, don't take away the fact that some of these children, they are not that completely, in as much as we say, yes, children, they don't know much, they are still growing, they are training them. The children we have now know so much.
True.
And they can get your brain to begin to work in a way that you cannot imagine. The kind of things they do, you cannot imagine. But oftentimes I tell them that if you identify some of these things in a child,
it's better to let them go.
Yes, rather than cast some inhuman treatment on this child, take the child back to the parent. They do terrible things, some of these young ones. Especially 12, 13, and they do a lot of terrible. They learn, even when you get them from the village, they have learned so many terrible things. I have a friend whose house help, who just 12-year-old, who was, these things that we put in bags to preserve the bag. These things that we put in the bag, yes. She said the girl tears it because she sells bags. She picks them from where she sells bags, tears them, pours them into the tea and uses it to make tea, covers it with the Lipton and covers it with the Ovaltine and everything. And you wouldn't know. She was doing it for a long time and they were complaining of having problem, the entire family, because she makes their tea. But after a while, she said one day she asked her to get water for her. That was how in her water bottle, the girl poured the same thing into her water and covered it. And when she brought it, she drank the water and observed that something was. She was like, she opened it and saw it and asked her, what did you put in my water? She couldn't. She sent her home. I told her that's the best option. Send her home. So the kind of things they do, because they feel they can't speak up, They can't tell you, I want to go. I don't want to stay anymore. So they begin to do some of these terrible things to get your attention, to get them to go back. But we shouldn't just take away the things that these children do. But it's always advisable when you are a mother, understand that these are children. He said that the Bible says that the mind of a child is evil. You keep teaching them until they become aware of some of the things they are doing. And parental upbringing these days is really something that is questionable. Yeah, it's questionable.
Anyways, I like that you try to bring balance, because oftentimes I go on maybe social media and we see a fresh case of abuse.
Yeah.
And then when you get to the comments, you see Igbo women cannot beat this allegation. Igbo women are not beating this allegation. So I don't even know at this point if there's a special attention only on Igbo women. But it's a good thing that you were able to point out the fact that it's not just, so it's not a cultural thing.
It's not a cultural thing.
However, there's something I'm now concerned about. This habit of getting 12-year-olds, 10-year-olds, some people even 7-year-olds to come and labor. Because at this point, it's not just service providing anymore. It's serious hard labor. Sometimes they bring these children, people who are still children, to take care of newborns, to take care of children, to help bathe them, to fetch water and all of that. So I really want to know, are there any laws that are meant to protect these children? Is that not supposed to be considered child labor? Is that not supposed to be considered abuse of some sort, because this child is not up to 18 and you're bringing them? I need to know what the laws limitations on this.
Limitations.
Okay, thank you. The limitations are that you cannot subject a child below the age of 12 to any kind of domestic servitude, services. So the standard is 12 years. But do not forget, I've had, because of my work, I have mothers coming to tell you, Mommy, I have a 7-year-old, take the child and we don't have what to eat. Poverty has contributed. Sometimes if you look deep, you find that it's even the parents that are giving out these children.
Oh, okay.
The parents give her, if somebody brought a 9-year-old for me, I said, no, I can't. The law says from 12 years. And that 12 years, there are limitations to what that 12-year-old should do. That 12-year is not old, is not supposed to be sent into the street to begin to hawk. That 12-year-old is not supposed to be allowed to work from morning till night without food, not sent to school, not sleeping on time. You have some people, their Househelp, they wake up as early as 4 p.m. They're already washing the child of the same age clothes, taking care of the child of the same age. So the law says, the NAPTIP law, says the child must be above 12 years old before the child can even come to your home to stay. And that 12-year-old should not be such that we are talking about furnishing consideration. You paying money for him to work for you. No. It's going to be a part of your family. You take care of that person as your own child. He does one or two things within his means, not excessive labor, and there shouldn't be any form of abuse on that child, or undignifying behaviors, treatment towards the child. So this is just the law. It's not, the person must not get to 18-year-old. So it's 12, from 12 years. But if you want somebody to be put in some hard labor, 16 and above, that's what the law says.
Okay.
Now, some of this family, when things happen, they tell you they are disciplining that child because they did something wrong, and this is how to discipline them, right? So where do we draw the line? Where is the possible line between disciplining the child and committing or abusing the child? And also, when it involves someone from an agency, how does the agency step in protecting that person?
Okay, thank you. Once anything becomes so excessive, correction is supposed to be correction. Sometimes you don't even need to flog, that person. But this is culture. This is where culture comes in. As Igbos, people from the southeast, you can't but imagine the things that mothers will do you know, even to correct their own children. You can't but imagine the things they can do to correct their own. And most times, these things are found in illiteracy.
Okay.
It's found in illiteracy. So when I was growing up, my mother can use the pestle to hit me.
Oh my God.
Yes. Well, when I was growing up, it was actually, she could use pestle. Once you do any little thing, she carries her pestle, you go. And then now I started raising my kids, and then you slap him. He tells you, Mommy, you know you can't slap me. I know my rights.
Wow. Here in Nigeria.
So you know, but those days she can do that to me, and I'll just be begging, and I wouldn't go back to that again. But you raise a person, and my side is telling you, Mommy, okay, now human rights. Let me say it in you want to raise person like me, you know the law. I can sue you. You know, things like that.
Wow.
And then you come to those little children. Once it becomes excessive, like the things that we see, piercing a child. Last year, a woman that pushed, the lawyer that with iron or something. I don't know what she used to. The body of the girl was in a mess. That is not correction.
This is cruelty.
That is not correction. And then the one of that was Parkland. I think the Enugu state government took care of the girl that used the nail on the head of the house help, and even after using the nail, plastered her bodies with hot iron, and then locked her up in a toilet. It was the girl had already begun to swell up before people alerted us, some of us that are human rights, and then she was brought out from the place. And then I think the case went to G River. The husband and wife were in jail just over mere little issue concerning their own child. You know, so once it becomes excessive, once it becomes inhuman, you know, it's no longer correction. Flog a child on the palm, even these days, the corporal punishment under the law, it has been abolished. But in Nigeria, we are still Africans.
We're still Africans.
I do not promote not flogging a child. I promote flogging. The Bible says that you train a child the way he should go, and when he grows, he will not depart from it. And you cannot spoil the rod and spare the child. So spoil the rod and then spare the child.
The rod and
spoil the rod and then spare the child. So to children, especially after Igbos, we are talking about science, we are strong people. If you have to deal with an Igbo child of 12-year-old, a girl, and deal with a Yoruba child of a 12-year-old, I've had to relate with some of them. There's a difference. We know too much. We get so exposed to things that we are not expected to be exposed to at a young age. Yes. But those Yorubas, they have their values and their cultures still being maintained. It's down here that most of us, we don't even value our cultures anymore. The girl child doesn't even understand the limits of what she should do and she shouldn't do. The boy child, the same way. If you go to the north, I've had to live in the north for 10 years. You see the differences. You see how they even greet, how they respect their elders. A young child here will come up, come on. That is if he finds you even worthy to greet you. We are losing it. We are losing our values. And that is some of this, it erupts some of these injustices against some of these children. Because you might get overboard with anger. You know, but I still stand to say that no amount of provocation should make you be inhuman. Should make you be inhuman towards another.
Okay, now I want to ask this question. How can these parents be checked? I think that's like the missing link in all of this. Because we say, okay, discipline, do not abuse. We talked about the age limit now for these children. We're looking at 12 years. And like you said, it's not like they are coming to labor and get paid. They are coming as part of your family. But again, who is really checking the activities of the home? Who is checking the extent of the punishment? You know, when a child misbehaves and you're meant to punish. So I just want to know, how can these families be checked? Because if we cannot check the families, there's really nothing we can do. Most of the times people get, like your NGO now, would only get to step in when something really terrible has happened. And the neighbors are now alert.
Yes.
Otherwise, we don't really know. It just keeps going and keeps going. And there are some that probably just went under the carpet.
I went under the carpet.
Okay.
And also to add to what she said, the last question I asked, when it happens to someone who provides service, who was conducted from an agency, that's a domestic service, how does the agency step in?
To handle
The agencies, they already know their responsibilities. That one is even easier because they monitor everybody that they send out to any home. So once things are going wrong, you are expected to report back to them. This and this is where of course, those ones are in safer hands when you compare them.
Who checks the agencies though?
Okay,
you
you're talking about
you
some of them
mentioned that the agencies
of course,
can be cruel.
who checks the agencies? But like I said, sometimes I get weak in discussing some of these things. Those that check the agency, do they check the agencies?
Truly.
NAPTIP is supposed to have an eye in some of these things. You wouldn't say they're not checking because sometimes where is the funding? Where is the resources? There is no encouragement. You set up an establishment and call it a federal establishment. They don't have cars to run their businesses. Sometimes you call them up, they tell you they don't have fuel. There are no provisions. If you set up an agency to run something for something, you make provisions. Corruption has taken over everything, eating deep into the cloak of our government. That is difficult for them to even manage the agencies that they set up. Are you telling me working in NAPTIP, if I don't have the passion for children, if a child, I'm called up that a child is dying somewhere, I'll use my salary and go and run it when there is no fuel in the car? Do they make provisions for them? Are there amenities available for them to do that? We have special response force everywhere. I really don't even know what they're doing. Be the car, the vehicle, they parade everywhere. I don't know what they do because there's still a lot of injustice, a lot of issues going on. Okay. So these agencies are to be. Then we'll talk about homes.
Homes, please.
Who monitor the mothers and who monitor? Well, under the Child Rights Act, you talk about parental guidance. Okay. The parental guidance is there that the parent should guide his child or blah blah blah. But like I said, illiteracy. A modern mother will not do the kind of thing that an illiterate mother will do to the child. You understand that? So will government be going from one home to another to check? But what we need to do, we are our neighbor's keeper. I've had certain times that some people will come and report and say, "Pico lawyer, help me. The way this woman beats her daughter is alarming."
Okay.
It's alarming. Go and check. And sometimes we write, they don't even know, we write them a letter, invite them to the office, come over and explain why you are beating your daughter. And sometimes the girl will come and answer, she won't be able to speak up.
Because she knows what
Because she knows if she speaks up and goes home, the mother will deal with her. Do you understand? But that also puts a kind of caution on the mother that somebody is watching. You shouldn't beat. And some of them will tell you, I'm just one kegi. You are now coming to tell me how to train my own child. So it's also a cultural thing. We believe that beating a child to the extreme is a way to correct that child. It's not.
But obviously it is not. We've run out of time. Thank you so much. And we exceeded 25 minutes.
Actually.
Thank you so much for joining us. Yes. It's such a pleasure. This particular conversation you've been able to throw light to where we really need light. And I think we'll still continue to have conversations like this so that these things will start to change. Thank you one more time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
That was Barrister Nneamaka Ilodigwe, the founder and executive director, Women and Child Justice Initiative Nigeria. That is WOCJIN. I got that right?
Yes, you did.
Thank you one more time for joining us. Up next on the AM Weekend Show is our second conversation. We are going to be, getting into something lighter. Let's talk about food, please. We'll be talking about pastries and pastry business, scaling the pastry business in the Southeast right after this short break. So don't go anywhere.
I can go.